Congratulations! You've decided to start your first suburban vegetable garden despite the challenges. Well, I guess the first thing we've got to do is decide what you're going to grow in that garden. You could be like me and make a list of all the varieties that you want to plant this season just to find out there is absolutely no way that you can put all of those varieties in your small garden space. Or you could try and use some discretion here. Think about growing the things that you really like, you really enjoy. You're going to learn year over year what works for you and what doesn't. You could spend the better part of a weekend, if not your life, researching how much space is required for a plant. You got the square foot gardening guidance. You've got the traditional guidance for row planting in the soil. What I'd say is apply some common sense to this. An indeterminate tomato plant's a big bushy plant. Give it some space. On the flip side of that, beans can grow close together, but they're going to need a trellis of some sort. So you may want to think about the positioning of that bed, and you have the ability for it to climb up something. Once you decide on the plants that you're going to grow, you have to figure out where you're going to get them from next, don't you? Well, you basically have two options when it comes to getting hold of plants, right? The first is to go to a garden store and purchase transplants in early spring. It's a perfectly good option. In fact, the availability and the varieties at those garden centers has really gotten to be tremendous. And if you're only going to have a few plants in your garden, it might make sense to just get them there, especially in the early years. However, there is another option, and that's to grow them from seed. A lot of people do this for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, I think people like to do it. I enjoy it. I like to see a little tiny seed that has all of the necessary components inside of it to grow into a huge bush, just throwing peppers at me, jalapenos like crazy. It almost boggles the mind to see those tiny little hairs crawl off of the seed, searching out moisture, then to see a little green stalk come out of that thing. Where in the world was that at? How? It's an amazing thing to behold. Anyways, there are things that I sow directly in the garden because the season here is quite long enough to allow me to do that. I see no reason to ever try and grow okra inside. Squash, beans like these Kentucky Wonders or these Alabama black-eyed butter beans, cowpeas. These are things that I don't start inside. In fact, typically don't do that well when transplanted. That's true of watermelons as well. They prefer to be planted in place and left alone. Now, when you select your plants, what criteria do you use? But when I select things that are meaningful to me. Things that I might like to eat, but things that remind me of my Uncle Sam, for instance, these purple whole pink eyes. Things that remind me of home, like these limas, Alabama black-eyed butter beans. Every seed has a story, especially heirloom seeds. But it's not exclusive to heirlooms, by the way. It's not just heirlooms that have a story. In fact, most of my gardening friends growing up did grow hybrids. They grew better boys, big boys, celebrities. And that's okay. But when I'm in the garden, I like to think about those people who came before me and all that they taught me. So that plays a big role in my selection of seeds. All this stuff will be direct sowed in the garden. Now, another concern is space, isn't it? A watermelon vine takes up a lot of space. I've been trying to grow watermelon in my small suburban garden for 10 years now without any success. This year I'm bound and determined. So in future videos, if you want to follow along, you can see my plans for this sugar baby bush. Let's see how it goes. Likewise, my cool season crops, which will go in well before the frost. In fact, we're going to get ready in February to put these bad boys in. So what do we start indoors? Well, I got to be honest, I only start two things anymore indoors. Peppers and tomato. Reason being, our spring is so short if it exists at all. It basically goes from wintertime to summer in a matter of weeks. And when the nighttime temperatures get up over 80 degrees, tomatoes and peppers may still put on flowers, but they're not likely to set fruit. So if I want to get a harvest in spring, I need to get these plants started early so that they can be more mature when they go into the garden in March and yield some fruit before the summer heat catches up to us. The good part about peppers is they are extremely shareable. So if I get too many, there's a lot of people who love peppers. Every year I grow a jalapeno. Every year I grow an Anaheim for my tortilla soups. I grow the jalapeno for my jalapeno cheddar cornbread. I grow poblanos. This year I'm thinking about trying some of this wild chili as well. Why? The story's too good to pass. Remember, that's the thing about seeds. When you're in that garden, you want to have a connection to that plant. You're going to be babying it from January until the end of this year. August, September, October. Sometimes my pepper plants are producing in November. They were this year. And this one has a great story. It's a wild native of the canyon lands of the U.S.-Mexico border. Right? So I want to try this one. What about tomatoes? Heirloom tomatoes are a bit hit or miss. I'm not going to lie about that, right? Some seasons I have great harvests, some seasons I don't. But I have my personal favorites. And your personal favorites may be based on the way they taste. It may be based on what you like to do with them. If you do a lot of canning, you might like a lot of paste tomatoes. I actually don't do that. What I love is a caprese salad. What can you say, right? It's true. I know by the accent you wouldn't know it, but I have a rather sophisticated palate. Okay, that's not true either. I don't have a sophisticated palate, but I do like some mozzarella and olive oil and basil from the garden on one of these bad boys. So I grow 3 colors every year, and these are my 3 favorites. The Green Giant, the Cherokee Purple, and the Amana Orange. These go in my garden every year, along with a select pink or red tomato. And then I grow a cherry. This is the one thing that I typically do grow a hybrid on. In my garden, almost invariably, I have had a Sweet 100 cherry tomato because it produces reliably and it is delicious. Well, a quick search on the internet will yield a hardiness zone for your specific location, and then another quick search will tell you the average last frost date for your city. Now, average last frost dates are like anything else in life. Well, they're an average. Your microclimate has a lot to do with if that date holds or not. But at the end of the day, we make the best choice we can with the best information we have, and we hope it works out for the best, but we live with the consequences. My average last frost date here in Dallas, Texas is about March 15th. But hey, I've seen deep snows in April, so there's that. But you're going to see me putting stuff out in the garden in early March, maybe even a little bit before. Why? Because odds are there's only a few nights that would dip below freezing to a hard freeze. And I'm going to have to take precautions in my small beds to protect them. The good news is I don't have a 20-acre farm planted in things that can't be covered. I can cover a bed with frost cloth to help get those plants through.